I mean, for one, I've loved watching Sanhok this phase round. And I think, you know, other than maybe a bit more diversity in the circles, I think we've had a good example of some games on Sanhok.
All right, so here we are. Plane is up and in the air. Now it's just going to come down to everybody's going to drop. We had a little bit of interesting thing that happened with Space Station Gaming to get everything started. That's almost kind of like a momentum killer as well, but the barefoot trend continues as Wooly and Wolf don't believe in shoes.
Maybe it's a W thing, a W name. Weirdly enough, Endemic didn't look too happy about getting some camera time today. They weren't really elated to see their featured. But again, these are some teams that we want to be watching now. This weekend. This is the big crunch zone for, you know, around that relegation contention. Sorry, and it's going to be interesting to see these teams in particular and how they can kind of dust themselves off.
And I'm very interested in watching Player One Esports right now. It feels like today is a much different day for them than it's kind of happened in the rest of the phase. They're a little bit more gelled. We've seen Lampalot have some really solid performances so far today. Aguila with that amazing clutch coming through. So does the trend continue as they are going to land back down here? Last Circle was kind of next to them, but they like to hang out around that quarry area that we talked about can sometimes be a death trap.
I mean, they have a wide split over quarry for their drop spot, and you know, ultimately it gives them a lot of space. We do actually see Pistola dropping into, and this is a switch up for Wildcard. They did try and do this last week and contest Lazarus, but they're much further south this time.
And Adam is also here. So this is a 2v1 right now. It's just trying to circle around, find the angle. Pride seems to be aware that he might be in a little bit of trouble. Shots come back through the door right now.
I think Pat's actually got a gun as well. He's coming down to back this up. So Wildcard need to be aware that somebody else is going to come back and try and help out Pride.
And here comes Kickstart and the rest of the team. So this is turning into a 4v2 very quickly. Pride, here's the vehicle, knows that he's in some trouble. Adam's using this opportunity.
He got some good damage.
Narrowly avoids getting hit by his own teammate. Adam's just rushing into the building. Pride's got nowhere to go. Gets the spray back over towards Adam and goes for the flush. So it does get a little bit of damage back over for Wildcard for taking down Pride.
He got the knock onto Kickstart and also the flush.
He's not stopping.
Pat now has already got up onto the compound. He needs to be aware of the one Wildcard member over to his left. But if he can sneak into this building here, Kickstart's going to be low HP and so is Pistola.
Oh, he hears the vehicle going away, getting information, realizing it's just a one, takes a shot onto an easy tap, goes for the flush. That's another down for Wildcard. Now has to be very careful. Opens up the door, baits it out, see if anybody takes any shots back over towards it. See Wildcard just holding the angle, waiting for the push.
No helmet.
This has to be very careful. Kickstart does reveal himself. Spray comes through. Pat managed to capitalize off of it, but that's going to be another down back over for Envy.
Moody and Terror are coming down in the vehicle right now, so Penta is going to go for the flush here. Needs to get the res onto Kickstart though, because you can see Moody and Terror already coming down on this. They're on a scooter.
They're just powering through as fast as that scooter can take him, and they jump off. Rushing through Pintalol, holds the angle, goes for the spray back over. That's another down on the Envy. Moody is out of this. Now it's just Taro looking back over towards Pintalol, trying to get this res off. Taro now has to stop dead in his tracks. Assume that the res might have already gone off and is in an outnumbered position. The grenade is coming out, being cooked. Does he know the angle? Goes back in there, gets another down onto Kickstart. Makes the push back over for Pinta. The spray doesn't connect, and Taro takes him down.
Wow, the timing on everything there. Penta had to stick the res onto Kickstart because it was his second down, and that ultimately...
But Zenith and Endemic are both looking at this like, hey, this is a fun party.
Endemic have come all the way south.
Yeah, everybody is starting to like circle around like buzzards within Taro right now, finding these different angles for it. Taro realizing this might not be good. The shot goes, misses. Look at this. Now Roth trying to hit this. Second shot goes out, and now it's just Taro trying to get away from this. Patron's in a little bit of trouble now, making the push back over, but Taro just gets back into the building complex.
SSG are coming past.
Let's just make it a party. Spray comes out from Patron, not going to connect too much over there. Roth slowly creeping back over. Taro knows he's in some trouble. Grenades are being prepped. Where's the angle going to land for it? I think it might be a little bit too far back. Not going to hit him. Push comes through. And there we go. It's going to be Envy out.
Whew. What a start.
Yeah, just... Sanhok, that's what happens.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be a quiet first circle. I mean, fairly centered, nothing too crazy, but nah, these guys won it.
2 teams, 8 players going down before the 5-minute mark, and already we have Sonics and Tempo as well engaging in a fight just south of boot camp. So I don't know if everybody's come away from last game and said that was boring, but they're coming out swinging this game.
One thing that's interesting is we always see Genesis, and we always talk about them rotating very early. There are so many teams around boot camp right now, they can't leave that position. There's so many teams that are just compacted around this area that we see right now, where we've got Tempo Storm looking back over towards Sonics that's just a little bit south of boot camp. But then we have, looks like E United looking like they want to push over towards boot camp, as well as Endemic, SSG, and Zenith, all around the similar location.
I mean, we saw SSG kind of sending it past that fight as it was going on. They've actually managed to get themselves a good spot just over to the east of bootcamp, you can see on your screen here now, Genesis opting for another 2-2, which we've seen them do pretty much every game in Sanhok so far, just outside bootcamp. But Endemic stacking 4 up at this crossroads is going to cause some problems for anybody that needs to come south.
Issue to keep an eye on is also Riot Squad is starting to make their cross through the river, sneaking up around where we're seeing this fight right now. So Riot Squad back behind Sonics, and Sonics still looking back towards Tempo Storm, has to be very careful. It doesn't look like anybody's actually watching this approach angle. So with this, Riot Squad should be able to pass cleanly, but they might hear a couple of shots going through, and we know Riot Squad is not afraid to push a fight.
I like the decision making here. They've obviously identified Sonics at the top of this, and they've come around obviously to the north side of the hill. Obviously they've got the tree cover now. It's much easier to transition around. But the problem being, we've seen United come across and do this before in previous games. Taylor J's made his way into bootcamp. The rest of United are going to have to cross over, which means Riot Squad are going to have a team to their north.
So now Sonics looking back down here. I don't know if they've spotted out anybody. You can see Tony D looking off on one angle for this. A couple of shots going to draw attention away as now everybody's starting to look back down that hillside. Now the thing comes in with Sonics is if they start getting caught into this firefight, they could find themselves either pressured from Riot Squad if they take shots at Riot Squad, or from Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm, not usually inclined to leave buildings this early inside of a game, but if somebody is this close to them, they might make the push for it.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is if anybody gets knocked on Sonics, it gives both the other teams the opportunity to push up and capitalize on that. So as you actually see already, Genesis taking some pot shots over to Wooly. He's already down to half HP. He's going to have to stick this kit behind the rock. This could be tricky for Sonics now because we've seen this in previous Sanhok games, Matt. They can't move east from this hill.
And everybody just condensing closer and closer to boot camp. On that minimap right now, we have so many teams. Everybody's in different corners. There's nowhere for Sonics to go except for one building complex. And it looks like they're making the push that direction, but they have to be cautious as there's Player One Esports that are going to be looking along that road.
We've got people in here. We've also got the south side of Genesis' split, K-Mind, and I think it's Nerf, yeah. They're going to have sightlines as they cross to this compound. And again, we already know they have no vehicle. So if they commit to this now, they're looking at foot rotating the next circle.
Now we have Riot Squad that has just pushed into boot camp itself. They're like, okay, well, everybody always leaves this place. We'll just go ahead and make it our home. What interesting note is United is also having that exact same thought. So you can see most of the teams opted to play center, are rewarded for it with the new circle. Really, it's just Rumblers and Ghosts that need to make their way in.
But this is the problem now. And like I said, Riot Squad having given United this space to rotate over, they weren't looking at it. They were looking at Sonics. And we've seen United do this pretty much every single Sanhok game that's come over to the East Island. Now they're in a position where they're sharing boot camp with another team. And we know from pub games, this isn't a nice place to fight.
And United is separated out. They still look like they're caught up in the looting processes right now, trying to see if they can find anything that Genesis left behind. Riot Squad is a little bit more condensed and they're together. They are running a 2-2 split. The other two are making their way towards Riot Squad's other members right now. But United is so separated out. If a down comes out onto United, that's going to be so bad because it's going to put so much pressure to either go for a res or just abandon it.
Yeah, I mean, massive pressure to rotate across boot camp to go and res a teammate. But
Riot Squad isn't looking. Look at them on the map right now. They're looking out.
I was going to say, I don't think Riot Squad have got any eyes into boot camp here. We can already see Stab in the trench here. Actually, somebody damaging Sharu there. So Riot Squad are aware that United are in here, but I mean, I don't think it's wise for them to push in and take this fight.
I don't think that they know how close Stab is right now. I mean, he's jumping around all over the place.
You can see Bale as well, look.
Starting to regroup right over here, but I mean, Genesis has, like we talked about, they haven't even been able to leave that far. They are running a 2-2 split right on the outside of this. So if a fight does happen, they might be able to get a couple of shots back into somebody as they're making a rotation.
Oh no, Stab. Protege timing.
Whoa.
Oh, I thought Protege was just going to catch him there as he crossed over. Oh, okay, Stab. Okay.
Goes for the peak, takes a little bit of damage off of it. I like the confidence coming out, but Riot Squad still holding down that building complex. You can see Genesis does hear this, looking back over towards him. United still running fairly separated out. Taylor J's on the tail end of this. Curious to see how they react to this, if they choose to regroup or just choose to make a firing on multiple angles and try to use that to tear apart Riot Squad.
I mean, Riot Squad coming in this far here, you can see one player is off to the west side of them. So if Taylor J tries to wrap around this direction, we do see a great tag from Stab there actually coming back onto Protege, but you can see Taylor J is already looking for an opportunity right here, as we see on your screen now. Later is off on his own, so if Later goes down, it's going to give Taylor a massive opportunity to flank the rest of Riot Squad.
And Leda is a huge powerhouse for Riot Squad. Putting him in a position like this puts a lot of pressure onto his shoulders. He's got to get these downs. He's got to get something out of this. If he goes down himself in this spot, he's near on non-resable. So he has to make sure that he's getting the frags that are so necessary for him. And you see, he's constantly looking around. There's a lot of stress in a position like this when you have a team back back behind you, and you know there's several teams that might be playing around these outside complexes.
I mean, again, Genesis have sight lines into boot camp still with their split. So, again, they can't really open themselves up to the east. So that's why you're seeing this fight kind of, I guess, slowly move towards the west side of boot camp.
This is a great example of pressure. You can see EU United separated out. They've got their line coming through. They're making sure that Riot Squad doesn't have any rotation points out of this, keeping them very contained. Taylor J lines up some shots back over towards VZ. I don't know if he'll be able to get the flush onto that. Yeah, just going to go back behind the wall and should be able to get a res, but that's more damage, that's more armor, and Taylor J is actually holding this angle quite well.
And actually, later already swinging further down to the wedge. You can see him here. He's just lying in wait. He's waiting for EU United, almost baiting them to come in for this flank.
Makes the push onto it. Leda,
they haven't raised VZ yet.
Everybody's kind of playing up to that second story, so grenades are starting to come back out now. Mystery looking like he wants to go back over for VZ. Taylor J slowly encroaching a little bit further up. Spray does come out, and that's going to force Taylor J back down that hill, or that little ramp there. So now Leda's got the grenade, has the information, knows where a couple of members are, but has to be very careful. His stab still has an angle onto him as well.
Yeah, and Later actually manages to shut down the flank from Taylor J. So now they do know that Later is here. Nerf actually going to knock onto VZ. Like I said, they can't open themselves up to the east here because Genesis are in a position to get pot shots onto them.
Well, let's just have Lazarus join too. They're making their way back down to another building complex right on the outside of that. So now you can see that PC's trying to crawl over, trying to get another res as E United slowly creeping up further and further. They're getting more of a stranglehold around this building complex. VZ just can't get res just due to the amount of outside influence that's coming into this.
All right, this is second down now, and again, hopefully he can find another helmet, but you got to assume that his armor and his helmet are gone now. Genesis looking to, obviously, they've regrouped down to the south, so they're in a perfect position to capitalize on this circle shift coming out of boot camp.
Do you see Endemic making a rotation of their own right down below Rumblers? Rumblers are fairly separated out right now. Depending on if Microfry or Waldo do see this, there are a couple of third-party shots coming out.
Oh, he sees it far away.
It's actually Los that spots him out and was taking those shots. Microfry right up here does go down inside of the exchange. Los does get something onto something on the outside of this, so Wolf playing that high ground position, taking a little bit of damage as Rumblers are trying to capitalize and make use of these buildings. Grenade's going to roll out, see if they can get anything away from it. Wolf has to be very cautious. Grenade does roll back down that hillside.
Wolf with a second
Waldo
knock.
is very aggressive on the side of it. Got to be able to get this, but there's a lot of back and forth exchange going between this as Reload, Crispier, trying to get a little bit of a different position on the lower part of the hill.
They need to try and get a nade up onto this rock here, because great work from Wolf to get 2 knocks, but he's now ultimately in a position where his teammates go.
That grenade could be huge right in front of Microfry, but the rock does take most of the damage for it. Reload still creeping up. Here's the footsteps that are moving around him. Has to know that there's somebody right here. Wolf's been feeding that information back over towards him. So it's just a flank on a counter flank right now. Everybody's trying to back up. Reload finally lines up onto one of them. Does get the connection for it, so gets more space and more control over this. Cherry Poppins, Los both look like the fact that they realize they're not going to be able to hold down this position as easily as they thought. Los is still holding low ground. Crispier's trying to get the shots back over towards him, but Cherry Poppins still holding that defensive line. Has to retreat for just a second to get some meds off.
We do actually see the third party from Lazarus coming in. They've come all the way behind Endemic here. They did get 1 kill onto Endemic, but Rumbler's now in a position where they can back off, and Endemic need to retreat from Lazarus.
Purdy is just running up this hillside. He's got Luke along next to him. Endemic separating out away from this, pushing off one angle. You can see Rumblers pushing out the other one, and it's just a bisecting push coming out from Lazarus.
I mean, that's what we've seen Lazarus do so well on Sanhok. They identify where teams are, these long, drawn-out fights, and they push up and they capitalize on the third party. Obviously, Endemic there, for me, weren't decisive enough. When when Wolf gets 2 knocks there, I want to see one of his teammates come up or at least throw a nade onto the rock that he's on.
So we do have Riot Squad, E United. It's been quite a while that they've both been sitting there, taking a couple of shots at each other, but it's a lot of wear and tear going into both teams, a lot of utility that's being burned off. You can see Endemic making their push back over through this new circle has popped, and it is right on Sonics.
They booked it, and they ran all the way. They're actually in between Low-Key and SSG right now, so they're not going to have any information on these compounds inside. You can see SSG are just set up in that compound there, one in each building, just staring at a door, I guess, but Crispy is right on top of Lobes here. I'm not sure why Low-Key are 4 up and not peeking this.
Oh
my God.
Lobes spots out one. It does turn back around onto it. Crispier gets a little bit of a damage off on this, and it's going to be a follow-up. Look at the plays coming out from that as Endemic does get eliminated, but they do a lot of damage to Low-Key beforehand.
I mean, 2 of Low-Key. They're actually going to lose 1. I don't know if they can get the res onto Chubba here, but...
Fig wants it. He's running this direction.
I mean, they should have shot earlier there, I'm going to be honest.
Now, something to note with the circle that we've seen, there's been a very long standoff between Riot Squad and E United. a lot of the EU United buildings are not inside the safe zone. So that's going to force EU United to have to make a choice. Either commit to the fight or just try to get out and away from this and push a different direction.
Well, the thing is obviously if they regroup on Stab's building, Genesis are going to have a great opportunity to hold them. But also, if they go to Stab's building, it gives Riot Squad an option to come south onto the hill, which Sonic's came off now. So that's completely unoccupied on the south side of boot camp. So it's going to be interesting to see the decision-making from United here.
We have a couple of small skirmishes that could be happening any moment now. So while we're watching this, we're trying to keep an eye on what's going on. But we do also have Lazarus and Space Station Gaming starting to get into a little bit of a fight off to the side of this. Do you want to see Uncivil go down? A lot of Molotovs going back and forth on this. J-Sync is down. Baja is going to throw out a little bit more damage onto it. Alo tries to get separated away from it. But you can see Valiant holding the angle on the outside. There's so much damage just sitting on the ground right now with so many Molotovs, really denying where Alo can go to. Luke is down right now, but it's going to be very, very hazardous to try to get this. It's just trying to go for the flesh, get another point out of this. Does see a little bit of a crawl coming out from Hetero over there. Not going to be able to get anything for it, but the shots do come back over towards Alo, who almost dies off of that, so has to be very cautious from here. Yeah,
Genesis actually pushing up as well and get some damage on. Lost does get a return knock, and actually, low-key, Chubba coming in and knocking Nerf as well.
Rumblers a lot more active today than we've seen them in a couple of past games, so Rumblers trying to make their way up the hillside. That is going to be Lazarus getting eliminated as Space Station Gaming finally does take them down. Profi is trying to get the res over towards Nerf right now, as it looks like Rumblers are just trying to fish with Dynamite, see if they manage to get anything onto Genesis, but Valiant's taking a lot of damage on the other side, and it looks like Riot Squad's trying to separate and get away from this, but EU United does manage to push into the building complex.
And this is what I was saying, it gave Riot Squad the opportunity to come south onto this hill, but EU United in a position where they can still punish that. Mystery and Protege still down in boot camp, but United pulling over to this side now could be the thing that sways this team fight.
Almost every fight we just watched is no longer inside the safe zone as it has popped. You can see United flooding through these buildings, trying to find anything they can. Everybody from Riot Squad just playing right along the edge of the blue, trying to use that to make up that hillside. Lata's up at the top of it. Protege does get spotted, but trying to use the trees takes a little bit of damage. Narrowly makes it into safety at the top of that hill. But Mystery now has to make that same run, and it's going to be rough.
And actually, Mystery getting third party from Genesis, so he's in a position where he needs to, he needs to get it down onto United to open something up for his other teammates. But United now have a very, very awkward cross, I'll say, across this road. Well, they have to come all the way up here. Genesis and Riot Squad are going to have open line of sight onto this rotation.
Riot Squad has to either choose. Do they hold the line, trying to take down EU United as they run up this hillside, or do they just leave? And it looks like they're going to go the Riot Squad way. They want the kills. They want to just stick with it. Shots are going to come out from Protege onto one angle. 3 more members from EU United back down the hillside. Shots are going to come out from Protege, still connecting over with Taylor J. He just has to drop down. The Bale Frost comes up big. Lata follows up with another shot onto this, and Stab is just narrowly ahead as so much damage is going to come out from the blue. That's going to take down Lata, and Riot Squad is eliminated.
Just mutually assured destruction there. Riot Squad obviously committing for those kill points. I like that decision making, but Genesis, great awareness there to obviously come and prioritize this side. They still need to worry about Rumblers, as we see here. Lost is going to get another knock. He didn't actually get the knock.
Didn't get the knock with it. Takes the shots back over, but Genesis now knows where he's at. Cherry Poppins is already down. Los has got to figure out what he's going to do. Chooses to retreat away from this, trying to find a little bit more of a safety point to play from, as grenades are just rolling down the hillside right back behind him, as the Blues encroaching as well. Not a lot of options for Los to play with, so he's just trying to get ahead of everything that's going to be coming his way, and Genesis is right back behind him.
I mean, Genesis only picking up 1 kill so far. I'm surprised by that, because I thought they would have capitalized on the United, but Lost not getting the down on H-Win there could be their downfall. And like you see there, Profi shutting down Lost, so Rumblers are eliminated in 10th place.
There is still Valiant as a solo over here that can do a little bit of damage depending on how Genesis wants to move through here. Loki still holding down this part of the circle. Player 1 Esports, nice, safe inside the zone right now. Going to get rewarded with another safe zone inside of their building complex, as well as Sonics. But Tempo Storm hasn't had a real need to leave that hillside that they've been at for a while. Grenade is prepped back over towards Valiant. Does a lot of damage.
1 HP.
Yeah, I was going to say, he has near on no life right now, and just somehow survives that. Oh, it is so, you can tell right now, it's a little bit of stress coming through. He did get a little bit of meds off. He can hear the footsteps that are coming around. Chubba Bubba knows exactly where he is. Grenade is prepped,
this
trying to
should clean him up. It should clean him up here.
Oh, it's going to bounce the wrong directions. They didn't know exactly where he was at. Valiant's looking back up the other side. I don't think he saw Chubba Bubba at all. Trying to look back that angle.
Saw him there.
Finally
I think his teammate just caught out there.
Genesis is back behind him. There's nowhere for Valiant to go, and he just walks right into H-Win.
But now, low-key in a position where they have this information now, so if they choose to... Oh, great tags from Nerf there. Unfortunate not to get the down onto, I think that's Fignaldo over there, but... I mean, low-key can set up right now to hold Genesis.
They can try to right now, but you can see Genesis wants to get as much damage as they can on everything. They're definitely feeling it right now. Nerf gets down onto Chubba Bubba. Nerf on the hunt off to the side of this. You can see Genesis looking also back down towards Walt Jr. from Zenith. So a lot of territory to play around here, but Low-Key is just trying to defend it the best they can. They're running a little bit of a separation out. You can see 1-1 right now, a little bit separated out, but inside of the bush at this stage, I don't know if Genesis is going to be expecting it.
I mean, Genesis need to push into the circle still, and Pax is positioned in this bush. I don't know if Fignaldo's got line of sight, but I want to see them in a position where they can trade each other, or at least go for, you know, 2 back-to-back downs.
All going to be about how Genesis moves through. Nerf does spot him out, gets the spray back over, doesn't actually get the down onto it? What? Pax buys more time and slows down everybody on Genesis. Fig is just trying to stay alive back behind that rock. Everybody in Genesis is coming down. Shots did go a little bit crazy there for a second, but Genesis does get away with it.
Well, I want to see Low-Key be more decisive there, but I mean, great work from Nerf. I mean, I say great work, he didn't manage to get it down immediately. Tempo Storm, meanwhile, pushing into P1E's compound. They've actually already managed to get 2 kills onto P1E.
They got 4 kills at this stage. Looking back over at Aguila. Everybody's just bouncing from building complex to building complex. Tempo Storm firmly regrouping at this point. Walt Jr. also back behind this. So now Aguila's trying to be as cautious as he can, getting a little bit more space. I think he's got that little corner that he can play from, as well as Walt Jr. So Tempo Storm still has the numbers advantage. Looks like Aguila was going for a little bit of a peek, trying to rely on some information coming out from David, I believe, that's off to the side of this. But Aguila just, he's stuck in this position right now unless he gets some type of reinforcements from his teammate.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we do see Genesis getting held on the edge. Sonic's managed to get in behind. Nerf will get knocked to the blue, so Profi, last one up here for Genesis. Let's see what he can do here against Sonics.
Tiggleton outside and in the blue. The rest of the Sonics taking a little bit of damage. Profi does manage to connect the spray inside the smoke. Profi's just holding the line right now for Genesis, holding back everything from Sonics, and Sonics just having to make the mad dash away from the blue right now. Tony V does manage to make it back over towards the rocks, but look, Profi is stepping up and forward, takes a little bit of damage, drops back down in that little bit of a divot. Tony knows exactly where he is, but just cannot get the sight line back over for it. Spray's gonna come back for another one. Now it is just a 1v1. Tony's taking a little bit of damage from this. Profi's trying to play around the outside of it, trying to see if he can connect off of it, just mopping up more and more points. The spray comes through, and finally, we do see Genesis go down, but Tony V, the last member for Sonics.
Unfortunate reload time there from Profi as we jump back on with Tempo, looking to clear out P1E. We did see Aguila go down to the blue. Sharky actually still in the kill away onto Tony there. David holding the door. Does get shot down. There you go. Tempo Storm will pick up the win with 8 kills.
Goes for the pre-fire onto it, knew that there was going to be a ton of people coming after him, but it all comes down to those complex pushes, moving on the outside of that. Tempo Storm being aggressive very early before everybody else. They had a little bit of a quiet day, but now it's starting to mount up.
I mean, they had a massive cross to make over to, we saw P1E set up as 4 in that comp.